Hello, the internet of the internet. Welcome back to another One Piece video. And in this video, we are going to have a death battle between the Trafalgar Water D Law face Katakuri. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, stay tuned, guys, because this video will be an absolute banger. So please like the video and please subscribe. But before we go into the death battle, we need to analyze their weapon, their strength, to see who won in a death battle. Let's look at all of Law's feat and what is Law's biggest feat to help him against Katakuri. Let's talk about his death fruit, because Law's death fruit is quite important for this fight, and Law's death fruit is very broken, and Law's fruit, I can't lie, is Law's biggest weapon and is his biggest thing in his arsenal is his death fruit. With the OP fruit is in its name. It is one of the most broken and the most OPest death fruit ever. The OP fruit allow Law to make room, and in the room Law can do whatever you want. He can sense your heart, he can sense your body, he can teleport, and he can switch objects around. He can teleport object and himself and other people. So Law have a lot of use with this fruit, and the user can make like a room, like a domain, like a space where Law is legit a god in. But we have learned that Law say that it does take a lot of energy out of him to make a big room. So every time you make a use spear or use room, it take more energy, and so that means Lord don't got a good endurance, because for room to like to walk and for Lord to make a massive room, it take a lot of energy out of him. And so Law, like, he cannot fight forever, because every time you use his damn food room, it does take away a huge part of his tank, of his fuel, of his energy. So that's a problem. And Law got good hockey. So Law does not have all three types of hockey, and he's not even like awakened hockey user. But he does have good almond hockey and good always in hockey. He does not have Rio, he does not have Future Sight, he does not have Kong's hockey or the advanced version. But with his hockey, his hockey was strong enough, it could cancel another devil fruit effect. So when Law and his crew was fighting Blackbeard, and when one of Blackbeard's crew, they used his devil fruit to turn Law's gender, to change his gender. Law to use his hockey to cancel the effect of it. So Law does have good hockey, and let's go back to his devil fruit. So Law is awakened. He is an awakened devil fruit user. With Law has different abilities when it comes to his awakened thing. So when Law did awaken his room, his devil fruit, he got a new type of room, which room is the space and is the spear and is the circle and the dome that Law create with his room. So he got a new room which is called Karoom, which he can fuse his their fruit with object. So we can see Law mostly fuse his their fruit with his sword. The Obi fruit, his Karoom with his sword, which allow Law to attack people's inner side, and cannot. I mean, you can attack the skin, but usually Karoom is made to attack the inner body of the enemy. Which when Law did awaken his death fruit, and when he used his Karoom attack on Big Mom, we can see that Big Mom was hurting, and Big Mom was bleeding. And Big Mom is very durable, and up to this point, ever since from Whole Cake Island to Wano, in about roughly around 3 to 400 chapters, Big Mom, we have never seen Big Mom hurt. And it took Law Awaken to be able to hurt Big Mom, because Big Mom did not take that attack very well, because Big Mom had to use her own awakening to heal herself. So we can see that this ability, his awakening, have one shot potential. And Law Deadfruit has always been a one shot like ability. Not ability, but his Deadfruit can allow Law to one shot you. That's what I'm trying to say. Because in Dressrosa, when Lauder used his ultimate attack, the Gamma Knife on Doflamingo was hurting and he did not took that attack well. Like Dolphin must literally use his strength to pull his organs back together with his Gamma Knife again. It destroys the inner body. So it doesn't matter if you have the pulse, if you have the harder skin like Kaido or like Big Mom, like your inner body, your inner organs can still be tough, but law and law can still hurt it. So it does not matter how strong your skin or how hard your body is posed, as long as law can use those attacks on the inner body, he can one shot you. And Law's biggest feat is when he fought against Blackbeard, a Yonko. Even though he lose the fight, he still fought a Yonko by himself against most of his crew. It was a 5v1 and Law was holding up himself. So that is Law's biggest feat. Now let's talk about one of the most fan favorite NT character in One Piece. Let's talk about one of a very popular character in the community, Katakuri. Let's talk about Katakuri's feats, but before we get to his feats, let's talk about his Deadfruit. So Katakuri, he is a awakened Deadfruit user, which he has a Pyramisa type Deadfruit, which the Deadfruit is the mochi fruit. With the fruit grant him the ability to control and to transform the surrounding area into mochi, and using it, turn it into weapon, and using it for range and for control in a battle. With Katakuri done that against Luffy, and Luffy was having a horrible time fighting against Katakuri, because whatever Luffy do, Katakuri could do better with his Deadfruit. Just there was a huge difference when it comes to their ability at controlling the Deadfruit, and Katakuri did use his Deadfruit way better. And when you see Luffy using his Deadfruit, you see like Katakuri took some information about Luffy's Deadfruit, and Katakuri to see what Luffy's doing with his Deadfruit, which then Katakuri they kind of steal what Luffy was doing, but Katakuri just done it better. So see my Katakuri, he's very good and he's very used to his Deadfruit. The fact that he can take other people's technique and how they're using their Deadfruit, and he took it and he turned it into his own. Was that what Katakuri was doing against Luffy at Whole Cake Island? And Luffy was having a horrible time. And by the way, just keep this in mind, this is a Whole Cake Island Luffy. This is not, Alba. This is not AKA. This is not Wano Luffy. So Luffy did not have Gear 5. He did not have these awakened Conqueror's Haki, and he did not have Rio. But even though Luffy did not have those kind of stuff, this was Whole Cake Island Luffy, and this Luffy could at least use Gear 4, Gear 2, Gear 3. So Luffy was throwing everything at Katakuri, the whole kitchen Luffy was throwing at him, and Katakuri was getting better, getting stronger, getting faster during the fight, and Katakuri just saw Luffy the different level that the two is on. And with Katakuri and in a fight, we have learned that if somebody's Almanaki is way stronger than yours, your Almanaki, your body part that you're using to turn into Almanaki will hurt. And we can see Luffy's Almanaki was starting to hurt Luffy himself, because every time he clashed with Katakuri, his Almanaki start to hurt and it looked like to me it was kinda like burning from the way they keep clashing and hurting Luffy very bad, even though Luffy was using Almanaki. And Katakuri have to stab himself, and Luffy have to go into Snake Man
to be able to defeat Katakuri. But even though Luffy went into Snake Man and Katakuri to stab himself to make him less stronger and to, really like to hold himself back with his true power, because when Katakuri to stab himself, like Katakuri was way weaker and he couldn't do as much as he wanted because he legit stabbed himself. So even though Luffy was in Snake Man and Katakuri to stab himself, they were still having a very equal fight. So I believe if Katakuri didn't stab himself, Katakuri would have won that fight. But because Katakuri did respect Luffy, he did decide to stab himself. And that isn't Katakuri's biggest feat. Katakuri's biggest feat is that his Haki. His Haki is really good. Katakuri has Almond Haki, he has Congress Haki, and he has Almond Haki. But let's go and let's talk about his Observation Haki. His Observation Haki is so good that Katakuri was the first character that we have seen that have the ability and the awaken his Observation Haki to be able to see in the future. So Katakuri can see 3 to 4 seconds in the future, and during the Luffy fight, Katakuri did surpass and he went plus ultra, going to new heights and allowing his Observation Haki, allowing his future sight to go even more longer, to 5 seconds, to 6 seconds, to 7 seconds. So Katakuri, he can push himself to greater height with his future sight Haki, and that's Katakuri's biggest feat, and that's all of Katakuri's feat. So now let's talk about who would win between a death battle between Katakuri and Law. Now, after analyzing Katakuri's feats and Law's feat, let's look at what would be the strength and weakness of both characters. So let's start with Katakuri. The strength of Katakuri would definitely be his Observation Haki and his future sight and his Haki in general. I feel like with his Congress Haki, it will really throw a spam in Law's plan and work, and how Law normally fight people with Law's death fruit, because I feel like Katakuri, he can cancel Law's room and stuff and his death fruit effects. So I feel like Katakuri can cancel those stuff with his Haki, because Katakuri, he is awakened Observation Haki with future sight and with Kong's Haki. So Katakuri does have good Haki to begin with, and another strength for Katakuri would be his future sight in general. I feel like it will be very difficult for Law to, not very difficult, but I feel like for some part Law would have a little bit of problems hitting his big attacks on Katakuri because future sight. But Luffy did touch Katakuri a couple of times. Now let's go on with his weakness. With Katakuri's weakness, I don't really see Katakuri taking a lot of attack from Law, and here's why. If Katakuri, because I'm pretty sure I've seen something on Reddit. Oh yeah, he's like somebody on now Reddit, so he's a fan. But so apparently this fan did rewatch this fight between Katakuri and Luffy, and this person to count how many times the Katakuri land attack on Luffy and how many times the Luffy land attack on Katakuri. Which I don't know, is this very accurate, but I do take this in part because this was in the anime and in the manga. So Katakuri. So keep in mind, this also includes when Katakuri to stab himself with his giant fork knife. So Luffy has landed 14 attacks on Katakuri, including the stabbing of himself, and Katakuri have landed 40 times on Luffy. So here comes his weakness. One of Katakuri's weakness is that I don't feel like Katakuri is very tough. Not tough, but what I'm trying to say is that Katakuri might not have good durability, from the fact that Luffy landed not a lot of attacks on Katakuri, and Katakuri stabbed himself. He lost to Luffy, while Katakuri landed 40 attacks on Luffy. That does not look right. That does not seem right, but hey, we'll take it we was just take it. So what I'm trying to say, Katakuri's weakness is that he seemed like a glass cannon. Katakuri can hit hard. Katakuri hit hard, and it's very hard to hit Katakuri. But if you hit him, you will be hurt. So I feel like Katakuri, he is a glass cannon, which I feel like that would go with Law's favor, and that might be a very big thing for Law, and or be very big for Law to win, and this could be the way Law could win. So Law's strength and weakness. Let's start with his weakness. Law's weakness is Law don't have good hockey. He does have good hockey, but he's not a advanced version of his hockey. So he does not have advanced real hockey, arm hockey. He does not have advanced always in hockey, if you say it. He doesn't have Congress hockey. So I feel like that would be a big threat to Law. And another big threat would be, I don't feel like Law is fast enough to hit Katakuri. I mean, so I do believe Law can catch Katakuri off guard with Law teleporting and switching objects around to get closer to him. Yes, I can see Law surprising Katakuri and land attack, but I cannot see speed wise Law being as fast as Luffy to land attack. So yeah, and plus Katakuri got amazing reaction speed with his foresight. So Law need to swap things around. And his other weakness is that Law does rely on his Death Fruit, which Katakuri, I do believe, can cancel the Death Fruit effect, just saying. But Law's strength can definitely be his Death Fruit. So it's a curse and a weakness because his Death Fruit is very, very powerful, and Law can hit like a mother trucker. And Law himself, he's also a glass cannon. But the thing is with Law, we have seen that Law can take better attacks than Katakuri, and we can see Law can fight for a long time, because at Wano he was fighting for a long time, and he can hurt a Yonko. And if Law can hurt a Yonko, he can 100% hurt Katakuri. And so that's the strength and weakness. Now let's say who's gonna win. Let's say who's gonna win between those two fan favorite One Piece character. So I believe that Law can defeat Katakuri and Law can win. And I feel like Law has a better chance at defeating Katakuri than the other way around. And the reason is because I feel like Law will catch Katakuri like off guard, or Law doing this fight with Law having his teleporting thing and switching objects around. I do believe Law can catch Katakuri off guard and land a massive attacks multiple times throughout the fight. And with Gamma Knife, with his awakened Karoom, I don't feel like Katakuri can take a lot of attacks. I do believe that Law can take Katakuri's base attack, because Katakuri's base attack, Katakuri cannot one-shot you. That's what I've noticed during that Luffy fight. A lot of Katakuri's, like, he does not have one-shot abilities, but the only way for Katakuri to defeat people is overwhelming them with punches. With Katakuri done that to Luffy, he was overwhelming Luffy with powerful attacks, not one-shot abilities, but shots that will land and will hurt. So Katakuri will overwhelm you. So that's the thing with Katakuri. But I believe that Law can take it and Law can give it back. So I think Law could defeat Katakuri. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the winner is the Trafalgar Law. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please like the video and please subscribe.